Hi guys, in today's video I'm going to be talking about how you can find a tenant for your rental property without the need of an estate agent. Thank you for visiting my channel Free Your Finance. I'm documenting my journey towards financial independence. I also talk about investing, property and saving, so if this is something you may be interested in, please hit the subscribe button below. So for any of you that have watched my videos before, you'll know that I've had rental properties now for over 10 years. When I first purchased my rental properties, I was paying an estate agent to manage them for me. Now, over my first few years, I did have quite a few problems with estate agents. I went through 4 different estate agents in quite a short space of time. I found their fees to be quite high. I found that, to be honest with you, for the money I paid, they didn't actually do that much. They would lose keys, they would forget to do the inspections of my properties, and when I really started looking into it, they wasn't really doing a whole lot apart from taking the rent, charging me for it, and then sending me the money. If something went wrong with one of the properties, all they were doing is ringing me up and saying, "What do you want us to do about it, Gary?" Now, by no means am I saying that every estate agent around the country is like this. I'm sure there are some incredible estate agents that really care about their customers. So I was really starting to struggle with managing agents of properties. And then I went on holiday with a friend of mine, and his brother-in-law, who happened to be a buy-to-let investor himself, actually said to me, "Why the hell are you paying an estate agent to manage your properties for you? Why don't you just do it yourself?" I'd never thought of this, and at such a young age I didn't really think I could manage properties myself. I thought maybe people wouldn't take me seriously. I didn't really think I had the knowledge in the property world to do this. And then when I got home, I really started to think, well, why can't I manage them myself? Obviously the first port of call was Google and YouTube, and I found really helpful information of what I need to do and how I need to do it. So when I decided to start managing my properties myself, I had to speak to my managing agent and obviously say I'm going to take over the property. Now bear in mind that I'd paid that estate agent a finder's fee for that tenant. I'd also been paying a monthly charge for them to manage that property for me. I'd paid hundreds of pounds to set up the references and the contracts, and then they told me I had to pay a fee if I wanted to carry on using that tenant after I stopped having them as my managing agents. To be honest, I was absolutely shocked, and they wanted to charge me, off the top of my head, I believe another £200 or £300 to keep that tenant. Now, being a really loyal person, I wanted to help him out. He was a great tenant, he'd never given me any trouble, so I paid the fee. I kept the tenant, I went to go and see him, and this is when I started finding out he'd actually been having quite a few problems that I'd never heard about. He said he'd been calling the estate agent over and over again and complaining about different things, and some of his complaints lasted months before I actually heard about it. I was really shocked because over time they were actually damaging my property by me not knowing about it and being able to sort it out. He stayed in there for about a year or two and then he moved out. Now this was my first ever big problem. How do I find my first ever tenant? Again, I opened Google and I started searching. I found some really useful content and I stumbled across OpenRent. Now since I found OpenRent, I have recommended them so many times. This is not an ad, I love them. Now I'm going to paste my referral link below in this description. If you choose to sign up with OpenRent, we'll both get a free ultimate listing on their website. This is usually £29. You'll get one and I'll get one, so you'll help me, and hopefully this video is going to help you too, so we both benefit from this link. So now I'm going to switch over to the OpenRent website. This is what you'll see right now as of June 2020. Obviously if you're watching this video later down the line, the website may look a little different. You can see in the top right corner I'm already signed in. This actually is really clever. It keeps my listings on there, so should I need to get access to that listing for any reason or want to relist it, I can do that just with a click of a few buttons. I'm going to give you a really quick tour of the website, some of the stuff they do and what they offer and what it means. So if we go up to pricing and services, under packages we're going to click on see all pricing. It's going to describe the free packages and exactly what they include. So first of all, you have their light advertising option. This is totally free. They don't charge you a penny for this service. For that you will get a listing on their website, OpenRent, which can be used as a search engine similar to Rightmove and Zoopla. You will get a viewing and inquiry organizer. The people that like the look of your property will inquire online through the listing, and the inquiry will come through to your online OpenRent portal. You'll be able to organise viewings directly in that portal, and you'll have a diary system where you can book them in. They will also send reminder messages to the prospective tenant, which is really helpful just in case they've forgotten about that viewing. Next up we have the ultimate advertising. Now this is the advertising, as I mentioned. If you click on my link below, you're going to get a free one of these, and so will I. But basically it's exactly the same as the free advertising. However, now it adds Rightmove and Zoopla into the mix. Obviously these are probably the 2 largest search engines when it comes to finding a property, and they also say they use use another 100 partner sites, but basically they're going to be driving a lot more traffic towards your listing. And then finally we have the rent now option. Now this is the £49, and for this price obviously you get all the ultimate advertising included, and you now get the rent now services added on top. This is really helpful as they start doing all of the things that you're going to find harder. They're going to organise the contracts, they're going to organise deposits being registered in the correct place, which you have to do by law. They're going to organise the initial rent collection, and they can even sort out the referencing for you, which you will want to do before you accept a tenant. So for the first listing I ever made, I actually used this £29 ultimate advertising. My thoughts were my friend's brother-in-law had already helped me out with a lot of the contract and where to securely keep the deposit, so I knew all about that. So at the time I didn't feel like I needed help with that. So I signed up for the ultimate advertising. I listed my property, which I'm going to go through in a moment, and it was super easy to do, and within minutes, literally within minutes, I was inundated with inquiries about my property. I was quite amazed how easy it was to do. As I said, I had loads of inquiries. I have to admit, just like anything, some of them were time wasters, but some of them turned out to be really great people, and one of them ended up as actually one of my tenants, who's still a tenant today over 5 years later. So I can definitely recommend this ultimate advertising. I've used it before, it was fantastic for me. With my next property that I listed, I actually tried the light advertising, which was the free option. The reason for this is the flat wasn't actually available yet. I still had a tenant in there, but they'd kindly agreed to let me in and take some photos and get the listing ready for when they were going to move out. So I thought, while they're still living in the property, I'll try out the free listing and see if I got any leads. No harm in trying, right? It was just as busy with inquiries as paying for it. I was really amazed at just how many inquiries I had. I continued using the light advertising, the free option, right up until this day. So I now have a tenant just about to move out of a property. He's warned me kindly, he's given his notice, so I know he's moving out. So I've started thinking about this again and what I'm going to do. I've decided I'm now going to go on to the rent now option, which is going to be the first time I've ever used it. I actually recommended open rent to another one of my closest friends, and they've used this rent now option. They liked the fact that it was going to do everything for them and they didn't have to think about a thing. I'm going to move over to the page that describes more about the rent now and what it offers, and I'm going to go through some of the reasons why I've decided that I'm going to now use it. So as you can see on this page, the rent now option costs us £49 plus £20 for the referencing, which is what you're going to want to do anyway. If we scroll down the page, they're going to give us step-by-step process of how rent now works. So once you find a tenant that you're happy with, you can start this rent now process. It's going to go through everything from start to finish and get that tenant all set up and ready to go. The reason I've decided to move over to rent now is I know just how quickly laws and regulations change within the property industry. I love the fact that they're going to do all the work for me and I can kick back and relax basically. They're going to organise taking the correct amount of deposit. You can set this amount when you're creating a listing, which I'm going to go through later in this video. They're then going to go through the tenant referencing, which, as I've already said, you have to pay £20 additional charge for. That's per applicant. With the tenant referencing, you get a really detailed report back to you. It tells you all information about this prospective tenant. It tells you if they have any CCJs, current income, it tells you their previous address, and overall it gives them a score and it rates them from high risk to low risk. It will also tell you if they believe that this tenant is a safe person to go ahead with. I found the reports really easy to view, and I have to admit I have turned down tenants where the reference checks have highlighted some stuff that I was a bit worried about. Yes, you do have to pay £20 per applicant. However, when I used to do this through an agent, this used to be £200, £300, £400 to set up a new tenancy. Next up, we have the signing of the tenancy agreement. They sort that all out. Once we've gone to this step, you're happy with everything, you're happy with the references, the contract signed, they then take the first month's rent and the deposit collection. Deposits have to be securely kept and locked away, and this again helps you to know that it's all done legally and above board in the correct places. Next up, we have our key exchange. Obviously, once all of this has gone on, the tenant's paid their first month rent, the deposit's paid, we can hand over the keys and get a tenant into our property. There is an additional step which is optional. You can choose open rent to collect the rent for you. Now, up until now, I've been using a system called Go Cardless. They collect my rents for me and they charge me a small fee. However, now Open Rent can collect the rent for me free of charge. It makes no sense for me not to use them. You get a monthly update when the rent is paid. If the rent wasn't paid, Open Rent do all the chasing for you. And if you ever got into any serious problems where you started going a few months without getting your rent, they can even put you onto the correct legal services to help you solve this problem. So if we click this green add listing button at the top of the screen, you can see just how easy it is for us to create a new listing. It's telling me, do I want to re-advertise one of my previous listings, or do I want to create a new advert? We're going to create a new advert. So the details I'm going to use for this listing is for Stamford Bridge Football Club. That's Chelsea's football stadium. We're going to hit find address when we paste this postcode in, and you'll be able to see Chelsea Football Club right there. Now it's really simple and very self-explanatory, but basically you're going to fill out all the information about the property. You can choose the property type. We're going to choose a flat right now. You can choose how many bedrooms, number of bathrooms, furnishing options, the EPC rating. If, for example, you didn't have an EPC rating, as you can see right there, there's a link that you can get an EPC rating directly from OpenRent for just £69. Now, I don't know how this compares to the cost of finding an EPC rating from another provider. I wouldn't be surprised with OpenRent if this is a really reasonable cost, as I know how reasonable all their other fees are. Next up, you can write a description of the property. You can either write it yourself or generate a smart description, which is going to use the information that we fill in to describe that property. For speed of this video, we're going to click Generate Smart Description, which is going to automatically make the description in a moment when we've completed this page. Next up, you can set where it is on the map. Obviously, Stamford Bridge is right there and the pin drop is in the correct location. You can show the street views. Let's show that stand at Chelsea's Football Club. Next up, we have the tenancy details, so you can choose how much you want the rent to be each month. Actually, for rent in central London, maybe we should add another 0 onto that. You can choose how many tenants you want in the property. You can choose when the property is ready to move into, so let's say it's ready at the end of this month. You can choose the deposit amount. You can go through these features of what's included. Let's just tick all of them on and say everything is included. You can choose your tenant preferences by simply clicking them on and off of what you're allowing and what you're not. Finally, you can upload photos and videos. Obviously, as a photographer, this is such an important part of selling anything. As you can see right here, you can actually get a professional photographer from OpenRent just by clicking that learn more at a small additional fee. If not, don't forget I am a photographer. I'll put my link in now. It's a quick plug for myself. I also do property photography, and I'll be happy to help if you're in my local location of the southeast. Anyway, we're going to leave the photos blank for now, and you can add a YouTube URL if you'd made a video for this property. Finally, we're going to click the terms and submit and preview. So now you're going to see a preview of the listing. This is going to show what the listing would look like. Obviously right now it's not showing a photo because we didn't upload any, so instead it's showing that street view that I set on the map. It's going to show all the information of the property. Here you can see the description that they've automatically wrote for us. I think it's actually quite impressive at what a good job they've done with that description. Scrolling down the page, they can see all the features of the property. If they wanted to inquire, they can message the landlord, they can book viewings, etc. And there's a button to start the rent now process, which we just spoke about. So hopefully this shows just how easy it is to create a listing. Finally, I'm going to just quickly go over some of the other services they offer. So should you need gas safety certificates, the new electrical safety certificates, inventory, photographers, rent insurances, everything can be done through this page. So I hope this video has helped you a little bit understand a bit more about OpenRent. I'm sure there are other online estate agents that do just as good service, maybe even better, but OpenRent was the one that I come across and I truly love them. I'm going to be sharing a lot more videos about rental properties along with my normal videos of investing and saving and just documenting my journey towards financial independence. If you're interested in hearing videos all about finance, please hit the subscribe button. My face should now be popping up on this left side. Click that, hit subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you soon. Take care.